Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Long Lens Podcast. This is the podcast where I answer questions from my filmmaking community, and we just talk about all things filmmaking, cameras, and YouTube. Today's episode is actually pretty special. My buddy Anson is joining me on the podcast, and we are going to be talking about the Lumix L10. Anson is a very talented filmmaker and photographer, and we both got sent loaner units of this camera, so I wanted to have Anson on to kind of give some of our thoughts on this new camera from Lumix. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Anson about the Lumix L10. So hey, Anson, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's always a fun time to come and chat with buddies.
Yeah, man. I kind of feel like you're the last Infinity Stone or something from like the Lumix gang. I've had Matthew, Dustin, Caleb, and now I got Anson.
Yes, I love it. I'm honored on my invite. I've seen some of the other episodes and they're amazing. So I'm honored.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, man.
I'm honored.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to have you on specifically because I know that you and I both have this camera, the new Lumix L10, which is the newest release from Lumix. And I know that you and I both have, we had our initial impression of it, and then we got one to use. And we should probably preface that Lumix did send these to us.
Yes.
And they're like, month-long loaners, so we don't just get to keep these.
Yes.
So we have our own opinions about it when it first came out, but I think that our tunes have changed a little bit now that we've used them a little bit. So I kind of wanted to just go over first some of the things that we like about the Lumix L10, and then we can talk a little bit about the things that we're maybe a little bit confused about.
For sure. There are plenty of those too. So
yeah. And I watched your video, and like, if you haven't watched it yet, definitely go check out his first video on this camera, because I think he kind of addresses a lot of the things that I was kind of confused about as well. But Anson, just give me your first thing that you actually like about this camera.
Honestly, the first thing that I like is the body style. I think it's weird because I've never, and I said this in my video, I've never been a point and shoot fan. I'm not usually using point and shoot cameras. Being able to get my hands on this point and shoot, it feels like a premium camera. And that's one of my favorite things. Having the grip, having all the dials that I need to have, having the EVF. I also said, I think I may have actually edited this part out. But I would love for the, second iteration of the S9 to kind of mimic this body. So that's kind of one of the first things that stands out at me. And then kind of from there is how much fun it is to shoot with.
Yeah. I was going to say the EVF was something that I really, really liked. I thought that it was just going to kind of be just kind of like an add-on thing, but I love how sharp the EVF is. It's actually something that's really, really nice.
Yes. Although I did find that if you keep the display on and you don't do any sort of I don't know what I was doing wrong. I was constantly changing my focus point. So I had to close my display to get it work without changing the focus point. But I'm sure that's user error. I probably haven't set something up. So
yeah, I was gonna say that's something that I ran into as well. I did a photo shoot last Sunday, and when you have the LCD open, I don't know what, again, I could just be an absolute doofus, but my nose and cheek were hitting the LCD screen and it was changing the focus point, which I was annoyed at. But then I decided that okay, well, if this is going to happen anyways, I'm going to keep my thumb on the LCD screen and then move the focus point as I'm looking through the viewfinder.
That's fair.
Which it kind of worked out that way.
Yeah.
But I also kind of I know this is a small camera and typically you have the SD card in the battery compartment. I like that it's got a separate little compartment.
Yeah.
It still makes it almost impossible to get out when you have it on a tripod, but I kind of like that it's kind of, you don't have to dig through the battery compartment.
That's very true. Yeah, I also talking about the battery, like I do enjoy the fact that it does have the like full Lumix battery.
Yeah.
Whereas, so a lot of times your smaller cameras, your point and shoots have these like little tiny batteries that last very little time. So like I haven't charged this, I'm pretty sure, since I've gotten it. And so whatever battery life was on the camera when I got the camera to start shooting with it is still what I'm using like 2 weeks later. Now I'm not doing something crazy intensive, but like that's impressive that it does have the full size battery.
Yeah, the BLK22s that GH7, S5 2s, like S1s take.
Yeah.
It's really nice. I feel like I've probably used at least one full battery from shooting. I have been doing a lot of like mostly photography, but I've been using like off-camera flashes too. So I don't know if maybe that takes up a little bit more of the battery. But that's something that I kind of wanted to bring up, which I had to like research it because I don't know. I was in the briefing with you about this camera, and I'm sure they mentioned it, but I was just, I could not for the life of me remember if this had a leaf shutter or not.
Oh,
because I was doing a off-camera flash photo shoot with this, and I was like, man, I can sync the flash like way past 250th of a second, which is what it's where most curtain shutters, you start seeing like the actual shutter in the shot.
Yeah.
But I was like, I was syncing up to like 500, 800th of a second. I was like, dang, this is kind of sick. So I looked it up, and apparently it does have a leaf shutter in this lens, which is kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. I think it's in the lens portion. Yes. I think I vaguely remember that.
Yeah. It's just like one of those things. It's like, cause that's what I loved about the Fuji X100 cameras, is that they had a leaf shutter. So you could, sync a flash up to like 1,000th of a second or something like that. So like that's for crazy. Outdoor portraiture is actually kind of cool. And that's kind of the approach that I'm taking. I haven't actually like done a review on this camera yet, but I'm doing a video with it.
I don't think I've ever seen a flash photo from you. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm trying to do like more outdoor environmental portraiture stuff with this, just because of the leaf shutter and taking a flash outside. So that was one of the things that I really liked about it. Surprisingly, this camera has a lot of video features, which you kind of mentioned on your video. And have you used this much for video?
I haven't switched the video. I haven't moved that switch at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
I said that I was like, this has a video and an S&Q. Why do we have an S&Q mode? Like, it's not a video camera. And I remember Lumix, said something to the effect of like, it might be more expensive to take some things out. And so maybe that's the aspect of it, but it's still just like, really?
Yeah.
You can't like maybe make that a different button. Maybe don't even make that like photo and video and S&Q. Like, one thing that I got irritated with is there's not a dedicated, like in other Lumix cameras, and maybe I haven't found it yet, but in other Lumix cameras, I have like a joystick where I can change my focus point by moving the joystick, or even pressing the joystick and it centers it, or at least brings up the menu to change my focus point. I didn't see any of that, so I actually reassigned one of my buttons to change my focus point. So all that to say, yes, they probably could have done away with that switch, but yes. So have you shot any video with that at all?
No, I have purposefully not shot any video with this camera yet. I've only taken photos, which is very new for me, because I tell people that like, I know how to take photos, but I don't really consider myself a photographer. I use the analogy of like, I can ride a bike, but I don't call myself a cyclist, essentially.
Yes. I can agree.
So I'm
with
trying to I'm trying to stretch, or, I guess, work my photography muscle a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are some things that like would concern me about shooting video on this, like for the long run, which, maybe that's why Lumix is pushing this so hard as a photo camera.
Yeah.
And one of them is just the, it does have a 43 millimeter filter thread, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I think that you would need smaller variable NDs if you were going to use that on this camera. And like my only concern is that like if I get a bunch of step up rings on this lens and then put my big 77 millimeter variable ND, I wonder if that would stress the motors on the zoom lens.
Yeah.
So that's one of my concerns. That's why I haven't really shot much video on it. I know that it shoots just as good as video as my GH7, which is what I'm recording on right now.
Yeah.
So I know that the quality will be great, but it just hasn't really. This doesn't strike me as something that you pick up to shoot video with, which is another of the strange things is this LCD screen, because this is definitely more of a video LCD screen as opposed to a photo one. I know that most photographers like the flip up one where you can kind of just like look down like one of like those old like Hasselblad cameras or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about the LCD screen? I feel like you take more photos than I do.
I'll be honest, when I have an EVF, I almost very rarely even notice there's an LCD screen. Unless I'm changing menus or things like that, which I also have feelings about. The LCD screen, I mean, it's one of my least favorite parts of Lumix cameras is this version of LCD screens where it is very much like you got the tilt out up. Yes, if you do want to see like at an angle, you've got to, have it out. And at that point, yes, if you're doing like street photography, it's just more noticeable when it's not just like you're looking down like this, you're looking off to the side. It's just like that little thing, and so I think there's definitely some weird choices. But I have a theory around it, and this is from no way, shape, or form knowledge of anything. I genuinely think they're using this as like a test bed for the S9. And if that is the case, I think it makes sense. Because if this is going to be what the S9 Mark II is supposed to be, or could be, or modeled after, again, coming from zero knowledge, then I could see where they're like, oh, how do people like the LCD screen? Can we survive with this? But yes, for a strictly photographer camera, like, I honestly, like I said, I kind of honestly treated it as there was no LCD and just kind of used the viewfinder the whole time.
That's fair. So
there was that, but yeah, I can agree with that. I can get on board with that concept. It is very much a video centric, and I can see like the flip out being, I can see Lumix's and Panasonic's kind of ideology with that of like, oh, people are going to want to take selfies, so let's get a flip out screen. And but at the same time, like, who's the market for? And I think that's one thing that we've always talked about. Lumix kind of sometimes has a hard time with this. Like, who is this for? Who are you targeting with this? Yeah, no, I definitely feel like this looks like an X100. Yes.
And you don't necessarily think of X100 shooters doing this a lot, and taking selfies. So that's kind of like one of the things where it's like, okay, it's an interesting choice. And there's, like I had the Lumix GX85, which had the flip up screen. Like it didn't have the flip out one. And I liked that too, just because, like I'm specifically in my video shooting this camera how I feel like maybe not a lot of people are shooting it. I feel like this is a travel/street photographer camera. And I'm trying to shoot more like environmental portraiture, fashion type stuff with it if I can. But I feel like most people are going to be shooting travel, shooting street. And this is just, a little more conspicuous than if you just had it like directly behind the lens. So that's just another thing where it's just like, they probably could have made it a little bit more photographer friendly in that aspect. But I'm not complaining, because if I was gonna use this for like a B camera for video, I like this type, because then I can flip it out and flip it to the side if I'm using it on like a second angle. So I like that, but I'm just I'm trying to put my head in like the mindset of a photographer specifically. And I think that's another thing too.
No, go ahead. You were saying, finish that thought.
Oh no. I was just kind of thinking like that's probably why they had so many photographers like review this on the launch is because this is, generally marketed towards photographers. That's where I'm kind of trying to get my headspace in.
Sure. 100%. And I think that's where, we definitely, I know we both kind of have said that before, like you and I are probably a little bit more video centric. And so having to kind of switch that mindset over to I'm just taking photos, or I'm just what would a photographer do? So you're like, OK, but it's interesting because I've never thought about an LCD and well, my question for you was, does the X100 have a flip up screen or is it a fixed screen?
No, it doesn't. It's completely, at least the one that I had the X100S. That's what I have tattooed on my arm.
Nice.
But I'm pretty sure the V and maybe the 6 have the flip up.
Okay.
So you kind of look directly down on it. Yeah.
Yep. That's fair. Yeah. I can see. Yeah. There are definitely those things every once in a while on Lumix cameras where I'm like, and that I can see that. And because I didn't use it a ton, I can see why I didn't run into that. Like, oh, this is weird. But I'm sure I think that's another thing for me is like whenever I have these flip out screens, I either don't use them or I use it as a fixed screen because that throws off my center of balance when it's off to the side and up. Even if I'm doing video, like I hate it. I will bring the camera up here so that I have it dead on. Just because, it really does throw off my equilibrium or something. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, and that's like, I feel like another thing that kind of goes along with I'm not going to say it's a quirk, but I'm going to say that like the choice of a zoom lens on this, I always thought that it would be cool if Lumix made an actual like X100 competitor.
Yes.
Which, because I was looking into the LX100s for a while because I was thinking about like, oh, this would be a cool like little travel walk around camera. But something that I consistently saw on the forums is that like dust would get into the zoom lens because there is moving mechanics and stuff like that. And so just naturally, dust eventually makes its way into the lens and it's kind of, you'd have to send it back into Panasonic for them to clean. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What do you think about the zoom lens? Would you rather have had a fixed prime?
100% yes. Okay. I think this is one thing where initially one of those aspects where we kind of mentioned at the beginning, like maybe my thought process changed a little as I was shooting with it. Mm-hmm. But initially, and even now, I would prefer a prime lens. Simply because like, again, is like, where is this camera fitting in my workflow? If it's not smaller than some of my other cameras, it's probably not getting used. And so I would have loved if they would have made it a prime to make it smaller, to hopefully make it more pocketable. But that being said, I did get used to having the zoom and beyond the telescoping, because I hate telescoping lenses.
Yeah, same.
Like, especially telescoping lenses where there's multiple levels to it. Like when you have like a 24-70 and it telescopes a little bit, like whatever, it's all the same size. But when it starts going into that second level where it's just like, it just looks like it's going smaller at something about that aesthetic just I can't get on board with.
I feel like you and I are both big aesthetics guys when it comes to our cameras.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, absolute side note, I noticed that you took your little like claw cap thing off.
Well, no, dude, they sent it to me without one. They just sent it to me with the little lens cap. I didn't get the claw.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane.
So I can't. Yeah. So you're special and I'm not.
I'm special. I get the claw. Yeah. But I will say, yes, the claw is kind of cool to hide the telescoping. But yeah, I would have preferred, like in the video I put out, I actually did a size comparison. Oh, it's like a loose size comparison between the Sigma FP, which is, noted to be one of the smallest, if not the smallest full frame interchangeable cameras. And I put Lumix's 40 millimeter on there. And when it's not in use, this is a little bit smaller, but as soon as I turn it on, like, and I start using it at 24 millimeters, 25 millimeters, It's actually thicker than the FP. And so like, it's just, and for a micro four thirds camera, what's one selling point for micro four thirds cameras is you get this compact camera that you can just throw in any pocket or bag and go. So that's kind of what threw me off about the Zoom is at the end of the day, I would have loved a fast prime. 40 millimeters would have been fantastic.
Yeah. Like, I mean, and that's why I feel like it is really a travel / street photographer's camera, because those type of shooters probably want a zoom lens so that they can, get a bunch of different compositions. But like, if I was going to put together a micro four thirds 20 megapixel like photography camera for like portraits or stuff like that I just wanted it to be small.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get a used GX9, which also has a 20 megapixel sensor, and like the Panasonic 20mm f1.7, which is like the 40mm equivalent, and it'll be probably smaller than, it'll definitely be smaller than this when, especially when the lens is extended.
Yeah.
And it'll be cheaper, which, this is coming out at what, $1,500 brand new.
Yes.
And see, that's the thing is, like, sure, the GX9 is not going to have all of the crazy video specs that this does. It's going to have a lot of, very similar photography capabilities with a 20 megapixel sensor, and probably not a lot of like the, advanced focusing modes and phase detect autofocus. And it's not going to have like the built-in LUT feature. But again, like, as far as like just raw image quality, I can't see them being that much different.
No.
But like, if you would complain about, the lack of video features on something like a GX9, you would say, well, it's a photography camera, which is the exact thing that they're saying about this L10.
and that's where it goes back to like, I genuinely like, I think when I first heard about this camera, it was the question of like, as always, especially as a reviewer, like, who is this for? It's not a surprise that this is doing really well in the Japanese market, because the Japanese market loves their travel friendly, small, compact cameras. Like, but beyond that, it's just like it's almost like you're trying to be several different things, but not anything specific at the same time. It's a really weird place, if that makes sense. Like, you're not a video camera, but you have, this was something that Matthew and I were joking about. You have 32-bit float external, like, which is really dope, because you can take the hot shoe, and that's one of my other favorite features. You can take this hot shoe, you can put the Lumix microphone on there, and you could have a really good vlogging setup. And honestly, like, I really wish that they would have tried to push that a little bit more too, because not only is this a really good street photography, travel camera, but like, especially because, 24 millimeters ish is a little bit wider, which we should maybe talk about the focal length at some point, because I don't think this is a 24-70. I was doing the math and I was like, that does not math. Like, that doesn't add up. But and we'll say like 22 to 24 millimeters on the wide end, you could probably do some vlogging with it. Is it like, the 17, 16, 14 millimeter equivalent, and, you're getting super wide to see all the environment? Not necessarily, but, you could trade having a little bit wider of a shot for 32-bit float audio with the microphone. Like, it'd be a killer vlog setup, especially with the flip out screen. And that's where I do feel like at some point Lumix is going to Lumix is very, for lack of better terms, very good at once something has hit the peak of a market, they pivot. And they were like, okay, well, we've exhausted this market. Let's switch gears and go after this market. And that's where I'm like, I think there was a question around like, are we ever going to get like shutter angle or things like that? And the answer was not necessarily, or probably not. And I don't want to say like Lumix is not telling the truth. It's just more of like, you never know. In like a year, they may be like, well, actually, this would be really good for vloggers. Let's put in some extra features so that content creators can have a really dope looking camera. And not to mention, like, especially if you get the titanium, like, how cool would you be walking around with this thing, just like vlogging with it and pull out this, like, really talking about aesthetic, like it's a good looking camera. And so I do think that there is potential for other things to be unlocked with this camera. Will we see it? Maybe not. Maybe not. But I think that it's definitely a lot of cool features with it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, there's definitely something to be said about the fact that, like, this can do 32-bit float internal, which, like, there are cinema cameras that can't do that. Does it do it internal, or does it go through the XLR2 or the microphone? Well, I think it has to go through. Yeah, I think it has to go through the XLR2 or the DMS one. But I mean, still, like, that's kind of crazy. I mean, you know, my GH7, my S1 Mark II can also do the same thing.
I'm recording on a Blackmagic Pixis right now. It doesn't do 32-bit float. So
Yeah. And I mean, it's got open gate, which, like, you know, Sony cameras don't even do yet. I mean, it's got a lot of really cool things, but it is a photographer's camera, which is, like, you know, something that I was thinking about is, you know, I don't know if you watched my LX5 video, but, like, that whole video was kind of me, like, looking for, like, a Ricoh GR, and like, as that whole experience of me trying to look into Ricoh GRs, I realized that there's, like, different versions of the GRs, some that have 28 millimeter lenses, and some that have 40. There's part of me that's thinking, like, well, I mean, I know this is probably a lot more expensive, and, you know, I don't think Lumix would ever do this, but I think that this camera having two different options, like, you can get a 28 millimeter version, or you can get a 40 millimeter version, and just having a fixed lens, like, you could have the 15 or the 15 millimeter or the 20 millimeter, you know, to get a 30 or 40 equivalent.
Is the Ricoh APS-C?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So a little bit bigger of a sensor.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is where my undiagnosed ADHD comes in, right? So I wonder if, you know, if that is the case, if Lumix sees that as their non-premium point and shoot, because to them, this is like the mecca of point and shoot, right? Like, this is I mean, Canon kind of made something similar to this, and you were talking about it at some point while we were in Vegas. Or I think we may have, it wasn't while we were in Vegas. No, you were talking about the Canon while we were in Vegas. But so this is the premium to them. Like, I wonder if they would do that, if they would kind of see it as like a step down for those primes. But I would be into something like that, because I'm sure everyone at some point that's been into some sort of like street photography or just wanting a good like EDC camera has looked at a Ricoh. Because they're fantastic. Are they perfect? No, but like you can fit them in your pocket. And like,
they're truly pocketable, like, everyday carry cameras, which is cool.
And they look cool. They have like a cult kind of following, and like, it's just such a cool little camera. I would love for Lumix, or honestly, I'd love for anyone to make a competitor to it.
And they're not cheap either. I mean, like, the cheapest one, is about the same price as an L10.
Did they? No, that's right. Because I remember I looked at one and I was like, that's like $1,200, and that was like a couple years ago. So, geez, no, I would, and I think that's the envious part about, for me, with this camera, is I really wanted something pocketable. Like, I've been for years trying to get my Sigma FP to be pocketable, and with autofocus, and it just, there's no lenses that are that, well, maybe now with the Viltrox one, but I just having that pocketable camera, because like, I'm the type, and I don't know, you know, how you would operate like with your everyday carries kind of setup. I'm the type, I would love, if I'm taking a picture, I want to take a picture on a camera. And there's a reason I spend money on these things. I don't want to spend, you know, hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars on a camera, and it stays at home because my phone can do everything that it can do. And so, if I'm taking pictures, I'm picking up a camera. And the only thing that would dethrone my Sigma cameras as my EDC cameras is if they were smaller and I could pocket them, which is one reason why, again, I've looked at the Ricoh, because it is pocketable. I would love for like a 2-tier system similar to Ricoh with that. Like even like have because you could potentially get it to where either it's flush within the body, kind of like the Ricoh, or, even just like half this lens size, if you were to go with a prime. And then I think at that point you would also kind of be putting the bricks, as they say, to Fuji. So
yeah. Well, that's another thing too, is that like when I first heard about this camera, I kind of in my head thought that it was going to be like the size of like a GM camera, which like the GM5 and the GM1, those ones were like basically the size of a Ricoh, except they had a Micro Four Thirds lens mount. Yep. Emily over at Micro Four Nerds, and Chris Nichols in 2025 was carrying around his GM5 and, shooting with like this enormous, ridiculous, like 42 millimeter Leica lens on it. But like those would be so cool to bring back, because like I mean, if they just brought back the GM5, I would buy one in a heartbeat. Oh yeah, they're like impossible to find at this point. But I mean, like those cameras were those still have a cult following, and they like if you try to find a GM5, it can be almost as expensive as this, and those are like 10 years old or something like that.
But that's a good camera,
because people like it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's great. Yeah. It's got the same. I think it's got the same sensor as like the GH3 or GH4, like 16 megapixels, like all manual control. It has a hot shoe, like the GM5 has a hot shoe, so you can fire a flash off of it.
That's insane.
And it's like smaller widthwise than my phone. Like it's crazy how small that camera is. And now they're like collector's items, it seems.
And I think that's where I think that's where some of us were scratching our heads, and like, again, I said this in our group thread. What about this camera makes it need to be this size? Like, it's not the sensor. It's maybe the zoom lens. I kind of think it's also a little bit of the battery.
Which... yeah, there's obviously going to be compromises. If we wanted it so small, we're probably going to be, using maybe a smaller battery. Yeah. But like, I mean, like this is like my my LX5, and it's like, the perfect size to just keep in like a fanny pack. I could, easily throw this in my pocket if I really wanted to. Yeah. But this was like my whole, like Ricoh alternative was this little camera.
That's great. Is that still a zoom lens too?
Yeah, it's still a zoom. I think it's a 24 to 75 equivalent. Okay.
Yeah.
And this one, like, I kind of said in my video, but this one's like $150. So it's like, obviously there's going to be dust in the lens at some point, but for $150, I really don't care, because it's, it's from 2012 or something.
Right. All right. Yeah. You're at that point, you're like, it's, I don't need to preserve much. Is that the video you put out like, I think like 3 weeks ago?
I think it was like a month ago now. Okay. I used a lot of the footage and, photos that I took in Vegas for that video.
That's right. That's the camera you had in Vegas. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
So I haven't watched that video. I need to go watch that video.
Okay. It like randomly took off. I was like, I didn't expect this one to actually like do well.
Really? That's what is
like 103,000 views or something like that.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane. Is that for the second channel or the main channel?
That's the main channel.
Oh, nice. That's amazing, dude. That's awesome.
I was like, okay, I guess people resonated with it, I guess.
I mean, people love, and I think it's kind of complete side note. This is why people love like your channel, is because like people just love like affordable gear, like this craft is expensive. And so like, when you can find gear that's like not, an arm and a leg, and it's a good find. It's a good find.
Yeah.
One unsung hero, I will say, I didn't even think about this, and honestly, I didn't even use it. But one thing that I wish I had used more on this camera is the aspect ratio switch. Because Well, actually, there's a couple reasons why I didn't. One is I forgot about it. Two is I was testing out. One thing that I saw online was people were upset that there was no X-pan aspect ratio with their micro four thirds cameras. They just don't do that. So
yeah.
And I can't remember why. I was told at one point why, but I digress. But instead of using the actual aspect ratio from the photos, I use frame markers for a scope frame marker. So that I could just do everything in post. So that was my reason number two. But I think it's such a cool feature. Like, and I know like other cameras have it, but it's so convenient to just be like, yeah, I want one by one. You can program it too.
Yeah, you can program these, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I have the same thing on this little LX5, but they're non-programmable, but you can see the actual like aspect. So I have 1:1, 4:3, 3:2, and 16:9.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And I do wish that the micro four thirds line would have more aspect ratios, because it really and truthfully had like 4 or 5, and there's 3 programmable. So it's like, why don't I just have all of them programmable? But yeah, I do wish they would come out with some more aspect ratios just for fun.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I have one question. Let me see if there's any extra questions. Yeah, I have one question from Sean Stone, and Sean asks, "What are you most surprised about with the L10?"
What are we most surprised about? My right off the cuff answer is the fact that I don't hate it like after using it, because I thought it was going to. I thought I was going to absolutely hate my experience with it. I do. The aesthetic is honestly one of the bigger things for me, especially the titanium gold, because with the S9, I think Lumix started going into a aesthetic kind of like, hey, people actually care what the cameras look like, instead of just having the same body style for the same cameras all the time. And so having something like this is really nice, because it is a little bit different of an aesthetic. Even down to like, I don't know if the silver and the black do this, but like even the back of the LCD, this might be just for the titanium gold, but there's no like Lumix on the back here. It's just this like texture. And so it's like those like thought things. I know one thing that I love about my Sigma cameras is usually aesthetically they're either interesting or pleasing. So one of the two. Yeah. And so that's one thing that I've always missed about my Lumix cameras is it doesn't look flashy when you're carrying it around. Like, it doesn't look like this is something I'm proud to carry around. It's just another camera. And this is one where I'm like, no, this is really cool looking, despite the telescoping lens, but this is really cool looking. While it's kind of like one of those, like, I don't want to say like dumb features, that's one thing that I love about the camera the most, and the fact that like it's actually a lot of fun to use.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I feel like this, especially this colorway, seems like something that, Jason Momoa or Cam Mackey would really like, which I think they do. I mean, I don't know if Jason Momoa's ever used this, probably not, but for me, I'm a
I like how you put Jason Momoa and Cam Mackey in the same like.
Well, it's because whenever I see like titanium gold or like this colorway,
brass,
have you ever watched? Yeah, like a brass. I mean, I'm sure you've watched all the videos of Jason Momoa and his Leica cameras and that like special red camera that they made for him.
Yeah,
so that's just like
ones.
what. Yeah, that's what instantly comes to mind whenever I see this type of colorway. And then Cam Mackey's aesthetic too is very much this. Yeah, I'm kind of boring. If I ever bought this camera, I would get the matte black or just the black version. Yep. Because
same.
I'm like, I just like my stuff to just blend in and be matte black. But something that surprised me the most was just the fact that it has so many video features into it, and I think the leaf shutter surprised me a lot too. If it does have a leaf shutter, which I'm like 90% sure it does. I probably should have done a little more research before we started this podcast, but I've been able to sync flashes at really high shutter speeds. So I'm assuming that it does. And that's really cool because that's one thing that I loved about my Fuji cameras. And I took a lot, like back when I was traveling in like my early 20s, I would take a little, like a flash kit with me. So if I ever wanted to take a portrait of someone outside, I could like, hold up my flash over here and then, take my photo. And I loved that. And it gives such a unique look that you can't really get with other cameras unless you use, ND. So I really like that about this camera. And I feel like it's something that like, at least from the videos that I watched, hasn't really been touched on a lot, which I think it's kind of cool. It's something that makes it unique as opposed to like, you can't do that with an S9. You can't really do it with, any other Micro Four Thirds camera unless you wanted to, use a bunch of ND. But that's another thing too, is like just using ND doesn't actually give you that fast shutter speed look when you're using flashes. So I like those things about it. I do like that it comes in different colorways. I'm pretty sure that this titanium gold is the only one with a soft release like screw hole for like the shutter.
Oh, to where you can like actually put like an aftermarket shutter on it?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's the truth. I think that the black and silver don't have this.
Interesting.
Yeah. I might be wrong. People in the comment section can correct me if they want to, but so there's cool like aesthetic things if you want to spend the extra $100 and get the special edition one. I have a feeling like, what do you think? Do you think that like other companies are going to start building cages for this, for the people that do want to use it for video, even though it's not going to be a video camera?
I will say, I think this is one thing, we were talking about reasons why it is not considered a video camera. And one that I stumbled on, because yes, we were talking about rigging, right? I think Matthew was talking about making like a spoof video about rigging his camera. And I'm like, you're not going to get very far because there's no HDMI port. And so like, I can see companies making, did they send the small rig grip to you when you got this?
Yeah. So I have the little small rig grip on mine.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, I didn't put it
with
on.
The little Arca Swiss.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I can see people making L10 cages because inevitably, you've, been around the block and know that people make cameras out of what they weren't intended to be all the time. For that matter, like the S9 probably should have had the same marketing as far as like, this is not really a video camera. Like it can do a lot of video things. And I think that's where it would make sense with this camera saying the same thing. But people are still using the S9 on professional projects because maybe that's all they can afford. Maybe it's a C camera, whatever the reason. I can definitely see people making cages for this and trying to take advantage of the video specs.
Yeah.
Now, can you do it cheaper and with a, bigger sensor? Absolutely. Because you just grab an S9. So I could definitely see people trying to like make this their, I wouldn't say like primary video camera, but like a content camera for sure. Yeah.
Like if I was going to buy this camera, it could easily be a B cam to my GH7, which I use all the time because it has the exact same sensor, shoots the exact same aspect ratio, same, picture profile. Something that I've always wondered is, because I know that you can connect your Lumix camera via USB-C to your phone and then use like that Lumix app to monitor it.
Lumix Flow. Yep.
Yeah, the Lumix Flow app. I don't know if you can do that with this one. I think it's just a charge. I don't know if you can actually like connect it that way. I know you can connect it over like Wi-Fi, but
now I've got to try it.
Yeah. Like if Matthew was going to make a rig out of this and he wanted to use a monitor, just use your phone with the Lumix Flow and try to like rig something up.
I didn't think about that. I was also the person that thought that this wasn't compatible with Lumix Lab, and then you get into the settings and there's like literally a Lumix Lab feature on there. And I'm like, okay, I apparently was not paying attention during this briefing. So, no, that's a workaround. You could definitely use the Lumix Flow app, and honestly would not surprise me. That's such a Lumix thing. If they're like, we're going to let people figure this out. And then like it's the only thing you can connect it with is USB-C, and then go to your phone. Or for that matter, depends on what kind of USB-C or what gets fed out of the USB-C. You could potentially do USB-C to HDMI, and you just wouldn't be able to charge it at the same time. But
then you just use battery. Yeah, you just use a dummy battery because, again,
which it does have a dummy
slot.
battery. Oh my God! Like this is we are in real time.
It's not a video camera though. People, do not rig this out into a video camera. It's probably way overkill.
Dude, I saw that and I was like, there's no way they put the dummy battery door. I was like, I'm missing something.
Yeah, like I can see that, like, if I was gonna do like time lapses over like the course of a day, and I wanted to like power my bat, but like, again, I don't think people are going to use this camera for that specific use case.
Yes.
But I mean, again, it's cool that it's there. Probably don't need it.
That's the only reason I didn't, because I went pretty heavy on like, these are video specs, but this is not a video camera. This is the only reason I didn't mention the like dummy battery door, because I was like, there's got to be some photography reason why you would want that, and time lapses. That makes total sense. But that's funny. So that's our new problem solving is USB-C to HDMI or Lumix Flow, and then dummy battery. So there you go, Matthew. Make the video.
There you go. Yeah. Who knows if that'll work? But yeah, I mean, like, if I was going to use this as a B cam to my GH7 and I wanted some way to monitor it if I was like away, maybe I could connect it to Lumix Flow via like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatever, and then I could have some way to like make sure my B cam was still recording or whatever.
I mean, you could technically do that with Lumix Lab. So even if it doesn't go with Lumix Flow, you can do camera control with Lumix Lab. It just doesn't have as much monitoring features, but you can at least see if like your settings are there, you're recording and all that. So I probably wouldn't use this as a B cam to my GH7, just because it seems like the GH7 in the used market is like $1,700 and this is $1,500. So I would just buy another GH7. And it has the ability to do stuff like ProRes RAW and RA log, which I'm gonna laugh my butt off if like a year down the road they're like, yo, also we're bringing RA log C3 to the L10. I'm like, it's not a video camera, guys.
Well, it's like, I mean, I feel like there was a lot of, this just reminds me of like when the S9 came out. That one was, and I think that like very similar, target market from the S9 to this camera. A lot of travel, street photography people, content creators. But like, there's a lot of people that were upset about the record times on the S9, and the S9 isn't really like meant to be a replacement for your, S5 II. But I've known so many people now that like have bought the S9 and gotten rid of their bigger cameras because the S9 just does exactly what they need it to do, and it's much smaller and cheaper. So I don't foresee Lumix giving video people what they want when it comes to this camera, but I've also seen them, give us updates that maybe like other companies wouldn't have.
And that's what you got to love about Lumix a lot of times is like they for the most part will listen, and even if it's something that like goes against what their initial like engineering research and development had decided against, they're usually okay about like, can we make a compromise? Like that whole like time limit was just because they didn't want to run into Sony problems where it was overheating after a little while, and it took enough people saying, I hate the record limit, I hate that this is the thing, it's not overheating, for them to say, okay, cool, we're going to take it out. It's going to get hot, and it may overheat, but it's there. And so I think I don't think people are buying this camera and they're saying, oh man, I really wish, except for Matthew, I really wish there was shutter angle, or if I were using this. And that's one reason, honestly, I didn't use it for videos. I just hate dealing with shutter speed. But, I don't think people are buying this for a video centric camera to where you need those upgrades to do shutter angle and things like that. Again, is it nice to where, like, let's say you're on a shoot and your GH7, like maybe you have a second GH7 that, craps out or something like that, where you can be like, oh, you know what? I have this camera in my bag. Let me just put this on a tripod. And the fact that you can get pretty much the same thing out of this camera is impressive. I haven't checked. I don't know if there are record limits. Have you seen if there are record limits with the video on this?
I've shot maybe 2 seconds of video just seeing if the autofocus worked, because I had the same problem that everybody else did, where it's like it doesn't work in standby. It only works after you press record.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I was
sense.
like, man, am I a moron? Like, am I doing something wrong here? And then I realized that you have to press record first and then it'll start autofocusing on you.
It doesn't have like that. Was it mode 2 or something like that where it always focuses? Yeah. Okay.
It just has the mode 1, I guess.
That's what people were upset about. I got it.
Yeah.
I know Matthew had mentioned that and shutter angle, and the first one I was like, what are we talking about? Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I totally agree with you. I think that like, I've seen articles that people are saying that like, this is like one of the best photojournalism cameras because, photojournalists, if they need to capture a little bit of video, albeit like, it'll be great video. Like, you put the DMS1 on there, shoot an open gate. If you're a photojournalist, you can record that 32-bit float with open gate and then be able to publish it on a bunch of different platforms.
Honestly,
so I can definitely see
if you had just stopped there, I would have said, why am I not using this for video? Like,
a
32-bit float with open gate vlog.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, and vlog is a great profile. I mean, you could do so much with this. I totally get like where they're going. I appreciate that Lumix is trying to establish a camera for the photographers out there, even though I think that we can both agree that like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I live in Portland, Oregon, and I can count on one hand the amount of photographers that use Lumix, right? Like, everybody uses Canon, Sony, Fuji, or Nikon when they're a photographer. Very, very few people use Lumix, at least where I'm from. I know that in, Europe and Asia, it's very different, but so I can appreciate that, like, they're trying to make something for the photographers out there. I just don't think that like, I still don't think that's what Lumix is primarily known for. No, and it's interesting. Like, I know we're celebrating the 25th year of Lumix's existence this year. And I am ashamed to say I don't know a ton of history around like the early days of Lumix, but I'd be curious if like they originally established themselves amongst like photographers, travel, because like if you watch it's interesting, I'll watch movies sometimes or TV shows and they'll pull out like a point and shoot and it's a Lumix, and so like, and that's where I think I see why they celebrated their 25th anniversary with a point and shoot, because I think that's kind of the market they established themselves on. I don't know. Again, in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong if you are a scholar on Lumix history. But I know in the past, like 10 years, at least, yes, they are 100% a video-centric camera. And I remember I can't remember if it was in one of our calls or if it was just like a side conversation. But I know Sean, who is our rep at Lumix, had mentioned something to the effect of like the S1R Mark II, long story short, basically like the S1R Mark II was meant for photo, right? Yeah. It was meant for photo. And we turned it into a glorious video camera, like one of the better video cameras out there. And even like if I joined a briefing recently where we were breaking down like all the full frame cameras from Lumix, and it was S1 Mark II as if you want that powerhouse video camera. S1R Mark II as if you want that powerhouse photo camera that does a little bit of video. And I like kind of like, it's like, wait, what? Because I use the S1R Mark II as my main video camera for like a year. And so like I can see Lumix being like, okay,
No, really, we're trying to make something for photographers. We're not trying to have video people cannibalize it and use it for its non-intended purposes. And on top of that, what's most likely going to happen is they're going to complain because it's not performing how the video camera should be. And so I think that's one reason why they've kind of learned from maybe even back from the S9, S1R Mark II, and now this camera. They're like, okay, no, this is, for any marketing that happens, please clarify this is a photo camera, because we don't need that bad that's a word I can't pronounce right now. We don't need the bad press and saying this is overheating, doesn't have IBIS. Well, it's not meant to have all those video features in the sense of like a professional video camera does. But yeah, I can definitely see the confusion or things like that. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I don't know as much Lumix history as I probably should. I know that like they were among the first brands to release a mirrorless camera. I think the G1 or the GH1 was one of the first. And yeah, like I think that like they probably started out, primarily targeting photographers in the same way that, that Canon did with the T2i and the 5D Mark II. They probably didn't design those as video cameras, but then once video shooters got a hold of it, started hacking the cameras, and then they're like, oh, okay, there's potential here. Like, I feel like where Canon had been established with photographers and is still in my head, like a lot of photographers still use Canon. I think that when I think of Lumix, and I feel like whenever anyone else thinks of Lumix, they typically think about how good their video cameras are. And even though their photo cameras are objectively just as good as a lot of, the Canon, Sony, Nikon stuff, it's that perception thing where it's just like a photographer may not know all the tech specs about everything. In fact, a lot of photographers don't. They know what they like, and they know how to use Canon or Nikon or Sony, and so that's what they use, regardless of whether or not a S1R2 is probably better than their R6 or their A7. It's just a perception thing. Like they trust those other brands for photo, and they just haven't used a Lumix camera for photography as much. So
for sure.
Yeah.
I think that I have my photographer that I work with is that way. It's like, she's always just shot on Canon. And when she shoots on my Lumix, she's like, I really like this. Like, I know some people that I can, introduce you to. But then it's just like, well, no, I have lenses. I have all this. So
yeah. Well, hey, Anson, dude, I've kept you for almost an hour now. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast and talking about this L10. I'm excited to use it more. I know that, both of us have to give it back. Do you think that you'll eventually pick this camera up?
I feel bad because I don't think there's ever been a camera from Lumix where I can honestly, without hesitation, say no. And it's not that this camera is not great. It's just, again, it goes back to, I'm not a huge point and shoot fan. And if I was, I want something more pocketable. So probably not. But I will say, and I might have a follow-up conversation about this. I'm really excited about what this means for the future of full frame cameras from Lumix. So, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. But this camera specifically, probably not. But I'm really excited what this does for like the S9 Mark II and things like that.
Yeah. I feel like this seems to be a very popular camera already, and I know it'll sell really well. I may eventually pick it up in the future, maybe just the black version when it goes on sale or something like that. But definitely a cool camera, a cool 25th anniversary camera for sure.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Anson, thanks so much. Where can people go to check out your stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram, YouTube, primarily YouTube. I don't know why I did that in that order, but everything is Anson and Co. ANSON and Co. And so come hang out, come check it out. And Nigel, I'm super excited to what's your goal for the drop of your video timeline wise?
I'm hoping I think that the video where I'm going to use this camera is going to be out early July, but I'll probably have a shorter like mini review here on the second channel before then.
Nice. I'm excited. I'm excited for it. And it's gonna be funny if we're 6 months later, maybe we're in Vegas next year and we both have L10s, just like loving life.
That'll be pretty funny.
I love it. Cool. I love it.
All right. Thanks, Anson.
Thanks, man.